Hey guys, today we did a night abstract city scene. It was pretty fun. Positive Sketch gave me this idea. I just modified a few things and just made it my own and really wanted to make this thing more urban than French. So first I did the sky by mixing blue with white paint. And keeping it more blue because it is a night scene. The next thing I did was block in the building, the shapes of the buildings with black. And as you can see, oh my goodness, that one was a feat. But we got through it. Just making sure that the perspective was right and that it looks like it's going into the distance. That was very, very, very interesting because I knew I wanted to keep the integrity of the buildings, you know what I'm saying? But at the same time, I still wanted it to be more abstract and more shapes that the viewer can just draw their eyes will pretty much fill in the information if I just left it as a blobby, you know. So then I used orange to go over the black. At this point, the paint was still a little bit wet, and I really might have to go in and brighten it up after it dries completely, but I was pretty determined to lay on that orange paint. And that's for the right side, and then for the left side I just used yellow, and the yellow as it dried started turning into a green, and so those buildings really started to look rustic and that old paint and brick look of maybe the 20s and 30s, which I thought was amazing. So now I kind of figured like, okay, a little Brooklyn segue, little Chicago duck offs in the city, and so I start once again. Here we go. The paint was still a little bit wet, and so what I ended up doing was kind of making that orange paint a little bit more muddy than I would have liked to, but it was okay because, like I said, now it just the building had like more of a brick, bronzy look, more so than like a bright red look like you would see in France. You see what I'm saying? So, keeping it in America, had to modify, like I said, and I kind of really enjoyed the way that it looked. The next thing that I did was I started to put the yellow highlights over the orange. And again, the paint was just a little bit too wet for me. So I started to highlight the yellow side because I saw that the yellow actually was taking those highlights a little bit better than the orange side was, so I let the orange side rest. And then when neither one of those worked, I took to the streets. And I just used the white and the black and created a little gray. I did, highlight the middle of that street portion just so that I could get a really good layer on there, and so that it looked as if the middle part was a little bit more worn and flat. That highlight really made it look flat, and I also made sure that I had a front horizon line so that you would see that it was flat and it wasn't concave. I'm trying to make that line really, really straight. One thing about this is I really wish that I would have put in the time and effort with a ruler a little bit for my perspective, but it still came out pretty cool, I think. Anyway, shading, I shaded the bottoms of the buildings, and once again, I had to go back in and kind of do some highlighting and started to put the windows, the highlights for the windows in, and some of the lowlights for the windows in, around like if it was framed. But the building itself, like you could see, it's not like a clear glass at the bottom. It's not clear windows at the bottom, but the highlights at the bottom create that illusion and give your viewers something that their eyes literally see without seeing, without you painting in those hard lines. And then for the distance, the to create the look of distance, we just created some darker shadows on the edges of the building so that it'll look like they're fading into the background. Also put a little line on one of the buildings to make it look like it is standing out closer to the street than the other ones. Then I started on the words where Positive Sketch put French words on his. I actually put jazz over the cafe where he had, I think the word that he had was, I can't remember, but then he did have a sign that said restaurante, and I just put in restaurant, and I faded it back because if you know anything about me, like, I was trying to do this painting pretty quick so that you guys wouldn't be overwhelmed with it. But words on paintings and me, it takes a while. So what I did was I faded it out as if like the sign maybe might be broke, or the viewer is looking at a distance instead of having it right in your face. And then on the other side, I put the word hotel, so just changed it up a little bit there to have it like an urban American, like I said, bustling city, nightlife type of scene. I did put the tables in, though, because I thought that gave a little bit more character in front of the little restaurant jazz place, because, we have tables out in America. Don't play with me. Also, so now then I just started to frame the windows with the black, and really just making shape more so than a square, a definite square line, because this is an abstract piece, and so you want to give your viewers imagination space, if that makes any sense. That's the beauty about abstract art, is that the viewer gets to see what they want to see in the picture. And so I thought that was pretty cool, you know what I'm saying, to just create those shapes and not have so much of a hard lines around the windows and whatnot. I did, oh my goodness. So then I went back in. I tried to do some more highlights on the orange building. The orange building gave me the complete blues because the yellow was literally just fading into the orange. And even when it was like tacky dry. So what I ended up doing was just putting a little bit of white so that the white would pull out from the orange and actually create a different color. I didn't realize how much yellow was in my orange until that moment. So we got through that. I did do a little bit more shading on the streets, and then just put some highlights within the black on the building, so that it looked like there were lights in the windows, in some of those windows and stuff. I thought that was pretty cool and amazing too, because it just made the picture pop out and made me as a viewer, and instead of the painter, really look at the picture like it. Yeah, oh, okay, I see what's going on here. That's what you want to do. You also, just a quick tip, just pull back away from your picture just a little bit. Like if you're going, I don't even understand how this is going to work, then just pull back from your picture just a little bit, stand up, get a consumer's eye view. Don't look at it as you're creating it. Just pull back a little bit so that you can see what you're doing. So at this point, I had to take to the street again, get my little shadows and whatnot, and then creating the tables. And my tables are a little bit wonky, but what I was thinking while I was doing it is, like, if it's like more of a cobblestone, or kind of a broken street, like those tables are not going to be straight. They're going to kind of be, this is urban city, you know what I'm saying? So, we have sometimes we have a table that leans one way or the other. And then I just created shape for the chairs. I did it, I didn't do the chairs like, a hard picture of a chair. I just created shapes for the chairs. Once again, let the viewer see what they want to see in the picture. And it is a night scene, and so those pictures are the chairs are black. So then that tells me, you know what I'm saying, that I don't have to put so much detail on it. I just have to make the impressionism, the impression of a chair. You see what I'm saying? I did do some highlights on the table, underneath the table, just so that you can have a clear view of what the table looks like, and what the shape of the table. And so I hit it just with a little bit of white. I went back in on the green building. I gave it a little bit more highlight. I put more shadow on the base of the buildings. And then I forgot that I didn't have a light source, so then I created a little light source above the sign. I took some blue, and I may have to put like a little bit of green in that blue, because I took some blue and I hit my highlights on the buildings with the blue, but I wasn't happy. So I might have to go back in and do some other things, just to make that, like, that's metal reflecting the skylight. Does that make sense? Okay, I hope it does. So now we get to the people. My people are just pretty much shadows, you know what I'm saying? And once again, the blue that I used, I'm not really, the blue and the white together gave me more white and more blue. And so I might have to go in there with just a little bit of yellow and make it more of a blue-green type of accent, to where their shapes make sense. And then, hit that sky with those wonderful stars. Hit the sky with a little bit of stars. Made sure that my picture was balanced, and the shadows and the highlights made sense. And just did a little touch-up work on and fine-tuning on some of the things that I wanted detail on, like the sign, the little things on the roof, the little smokers on the roof, and just the street gave it a little bit of highlight where highlight was needed from the windows, because the windows are providing light. So you have to make sure that it makes sense to your light sources at all times. And then you have to make sure that your viewer can actually participate in your picture, and you're not making, if it's an impressionistic picture, it's not so cartoony, but it has enough detail to where your viewers can get a sense of what you painted, So I hope you like this tutorial. I'm just going to leave you with some music now. Like, share, subscribe if you enjoy this, and stay tuned for more tips, tricks, and go over to TilaTheArtist.com. I am now